this PERF policy 2, 3, and 4, you want to table, right?
No, that was a mistake. I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I was confusing the PERFs with.
Okay, the professional development guideline, PERF2. I had a question. Since we are spending library funds for trustees to attend these, that we should require trustees to do the same documentation.
I thought that's what we already did. Yeah, I thought we
Oh,
talked about
yeah,
that.
you're right. I apologize. Okay. And any further questions or comments about the professional development policy?
I move we approve PERF 2, 3, and 4 as changed.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Professional development committee?
I'll be speaking on that momentarily in new business for MLA. Do you have anything else? No. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't call you. It's okay. All right.
Friends?
Jay?
Yes. So, as you may know, October is Friends of the Library Appreciation Month. And during the library director's report at the meeting, she expressed her thanks to the Friends of the Library. In fact, what was passed around to everyone attending were a number of cards signed by the staff and by the director thanking the Friends of the Library for all that they do. So I thought that was very nice. They discussed the upcoming elections in December for the FOL officers, including who wants to continue and some that don't want to continue. One key area of focus appears to be around trying to grow Friends of the Library membership. Various ideas were discussed. They discussed ways to get information out. So for example, when we have new patrons that sign up for library access, they're given a package of information. They talked about putting up signs at local stores, maybe giving articles into the newspapers and things like that. It's important not only to grow the membership, but also I think the leadership felt that bringing some new blood in would be very helpful for the long run. The group discussed a request from a resident to sell products through the Friends of the Library, but the Friends felt it was not appropriate to do that. So they're not going to encourage third parties to try to sell the material through the library. Laura provided her director's report in which she mentioned a team room art class project. She mentioned a project to install a door to the garden for children, and a supply chain related delay in obtaining some shelving that FOL is looking forward to having. The library staff liaison provided a report on various efforts, including a Sunday food pantry presentation, providing bibs, a Battle of Books event, and other initiatives. So there's a lot going on that I'm not aware of unless I attend these meetings and see what's going on. Finally, there was much discussion to plan regarding planning for the upcoming Christmas basket auction, which will occur on December 19th. All basket components are needed before November 21st so that they can be assembled if needed and then put on display November 28th. Current fund balance for the FOL is $15,795.96. Do you have any questions?
We had agreed last month to add a report into the packet.
Okay.
You didn't have a...
I didn't provide one in advance. I just gave her one before the meeting.
Okay.
So perhaps could be added to the minutes, or would you prefer as part of the actual package?
I think, well, in the future, I guess,
Okay.
we had talked about putting it in the actual packet.
All right.
Also, I have a question. Somewhere in the information, I read that the meetings are moved to Monday nights. Is that true?
I did not hear that at this
That's for
meeting.
next month, because of the election. It fell on election day.
Oh,
they
okay, so just one time.
Oh, just a one-time thing. Okay, great.
And the painting, Alyssa picked up the painting from the high school. Anybody wants to see it, it's in front of the team. It's really nice. They did a really nice job.
Okay. What was that amount? 15,000?
Yeah, 15. $795.
96?
Okay, can I ask you to forward that, the FOL report to the board members, and then in the future we can come on having it as part of the packet?
I will do that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Jay or Jan? Comments? Thank you. Student liaison, apparently.
Mr.
I know she's very busy, but caught up with it. Advocacy. Cheryl and Susan.
We had our candidates night. As Laura said, I think it turned out very well. We had about 40 people. Not only the candidates, but the attendees. I had several of them come up to me after the event to thank us for doing it, ask us to do it again, that kind of thing. I think it worked out very well doing the questions on cards. That really worked well, as opposed to trying to take them from audience, because we kind of saved having any type of confrontation. But yeah, I think we should do it again, and especially local elections. You know, and when the township elections come up and that type of thing, I think it's really critical that we should have it.
School boards are great.
Yeah.
I did have somebody say maybe we could keep the candidates to a time frame, because they felt that their question wasn't, we didn't have time. There was probably 3 or 4 different topics that we didn't get to because we just lacked the time. So that was a suggestion, but she was very appreciative of listening to the order and that it was, you know, that kind of thing. So
I was at a forum last night on the Oakland County transit tax proposal. It was a similar format where people wrote their questions down as they came in. They had one moderator that read them. They were able to get through them all in an hour and a half, which was good. But I thought the format worked really well. So you don't have people doing demonstrations and wording questions in such a way just to embarrass the speaker and things like that.
Susan? Yes. You were a very good Vanna.
oh, thank
You were good. You were good.
And Cheryl, you were a very good Pat. I thought it was great. I loved, you know, there was both sides of the ticket, but it was very harmonious, and I love how they enjoyed each other.
Felt more like security at times.
That too. But no, I thought, and I think the library, as you're saying, we should be the hub of this type of activity going forward. I know they did it one year at the senior center. Oh gosh, probably in 2012, I'm going to say. And it was a little bit volatile. So we should be the hub of this, and you did a great job.
And I want to add in my comments, thank you for doing it. And I know that the two of you put a lot of effort into contacting these people and setting it up. It really, really was beautifully run. And the fact that everybody stayed afterwards to talk to each other, I think that's another indication of what a good job that you did in organizing it and of handling that almost glitch. Very, very nicely done, and thank you. Finance.
It's now time to approve our final budget for 2023. You have the line item budget, and you also have the cost center budget. Again, in the cost center budget, well, line item 2, what you'll see is we did the next $25,000 that will need to be paid to the engineers. Again, we showed it as appropriated fund balance in the revenue side, And then it's part of the facility expenses that's shown there. So we would have had 44,000 additional going into the fund balance, but 25 of that we're going to be using. So you only see the 19,000 in the change in the fund balance. And obviously there will be more coming out. Hopefully there will be, that we get to that point. But we have no clue at this point. And we have restricted funds available to do that. So we'll have to do that as a mid-year change in the budget. Any additional comments, Jay?
I just enjoyed working with the team here, and I thought they put a lot of good effort into, really scrutinizing the expenses and coming up with numbers that are both realistic but also somewhat challenging. You never want to make a budget that's just so easy to meet, and I just appreciate all the work that you guys did.
Oh, go ahead. No. When I first came on this board, I was told no question is too crazy. So I'm going to ask this. And I thought I had a handle on this, but because I'm looking at penal fines, why we're still budgeting 15,000. Then I thought, oh, it must be for lost and damaged materials, but that's down further for 500. So why do we still have penal fines? I'm looking on page 23 under state revenues,
Line 10.
line 10.
Because we're still collecting.
Why?
The penal fines are not.
Penal
what you
fines
expect.
are when somebody gets
Misdemeanor.
misdemeanor, that type of thing.
Okay.
And then it's a state
Oh,
law that
okay.
it's given to the library.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you're thinking of something else that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's why I said no question is on.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I
No,
go
we
with that,
deal
too.
with this,
Yeah.
all the time, so I'm familiar with it, but yeah. Yeah, that's what those are. And we do still collect those.
Okay, thank you.
And at some point, some seminar, and I can't remember where it was, not the most recent one, there was a suggestion that we talk to the local sheriff's department and encourage them
Write more tickets?
to be a little more assertive and
I don't think I support that.
No, I'm saying no.
we love our
I do have one question also.
Penal, I will look it up again.
Do we have a pretty good idea that the property tax are going to increase that much? I'm a little bit concerned because a lot of the financial things that I have seen are showing that, some of that will be going down.
Well, those are set this year based on,
Okay,
It's a good number for this year.
because the tax bill comes out December 1st, and that's where we get our knowledge on that tax bill.
okay.
So what
So
happens
we're pretty
next year then would impact us in December of next year.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, that's why we're
I was just a
really,
little bit, I saw how much higher it was on
no, that's why we're scrutinizing the budget, because we know it's
Okay.
coming and something.
here. Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you. I knew you were on top of it. I just wanted to ask the question. So,
That's fine.
thank you.
Yes. Hadley will hurt us.
That and real estate values.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So we need a motion. By somebody not at the finance committee.
I move that we approve the budget as laid out.
I second. Oh, go ahead, Susan.
I don't get much in.
That's okay.
Are you doing cost center budget?
Yes,
Okay.
however you have that worded. I move to do that.
You word, she says.
Okay, Heather and then Susan?
Yes.
Okay, Susan?
Jan?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Shira?
Yes.
Myself, yes. And Brenda?
Yes.
And I do think Laura and Kathleen for all the work they've put into this, and I know they're still looking at some of the expenses and figuring out if there's any way they can reduce them, so. They're on top of it.
Okay, we're looking at evaluations. New business. Review of the conference.
Oh, we didn't want to do communication? No.
Oh, I'm
Communication.
There was nothing on communication?
Okay. Want me to start? Sure. Verna and I went to the MLA conference last week in Port Huron. I can share my brochure if anybody's interested. I brought it along. It was called Bridging the Divide. First MLA in-person conference in 3 years. Sure, you certainly can. And so what we've decided to do, because if a staff member attends a conference, they need to produce a report. So we've decided that board members also will do the same. So that's what Verna and I are going to do at this time. And the first question is, what did you learn? And one of my favorite things that I learned came from two men who were journalists in Detroit, who are journalists in Detroit. They run the Civility Project, and they were the keynote speakers to head off this thing. I feel us as a board, every month we six seem to gel more as one unit. And therefore, I love these men's talk. They run the Civility Project even though they have always been on extreme opposites of the political spectrum. One thing they have always agreed on is the importance of their friendship. Everything else they disagree on. But they never pull punches. They have come to enjoy the mix-up. They suggested to us to identify commonalities, fairness, justice, and family. Leave smugness, self-righteousness, and condensation. That should be condemnation at the door. Condensation works, doesn't it? Yes, you're right. Figure out what the value is in each and every one of us and learn to listen more. In this way, we become more productive. So that was one of my favorite talks. And I really was thinking about all of us as a group as I was listening to them. The next thing, one of the other ones that I went to was student positions on boards. So the first, and it was a talk given by a student. He was 17, and he sits on a board, and not necessarily a library board, but it truly was for any local boards. And he said, would you raise your hand if you have a student on your board? So I raised my hand, and I was the only one who did. Really? Yeah, it was a small group of people. But anyway, were some of his thoughts. A 2-year term is ideal, and I think we've all agreed that if we can get in a junior to sit for 2 years, that helps. Involve the student in at least one committee, and recruitment he suggested classroom to classroom, student councils, or clubs. And interestingly enough, and we've seen this too with Taylor and our previous students who are extremely busy in extracurricular are the best target because they can fit it in. That was another one of my talks that I went to, and the third one, I'm not going on every one of them, but the third one was on strategic planning for libraries. Berna and I sat with Shauna, so she will in the near future be sharing most of this, but one thing that stood out to me was since our last strategic plan, which was a 5-year plan, things have changed. And the biggest changes, a strategic plan is shorter and for only 2 to 3 years. So that's new things. It says in this report, how will you apply this to the library? Each talk was very pertinent to my position on the board. We want to have a welcoming, productive meeting every month, and as we gel, I feel we are. And obviously the recruitment of student members and for a new strategic plan. And would I recommend an MLA conference to trustees? Absolutely. So that's my report.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about this particular conference was driving up there 2 days with Jan. We had 2 hours a day to gossip and talk. And,
In the dark, both ways.
but she didn't make it on Friday, but we were able to, talk about some of the things that we had learned. Now, we did some of the same breakout sessions, and of course, they actually had 3 different keynote speakers, and Jan missed the last one. But the keynotes I thought were really good this year. The second one, Angela Hurst talked about how will they know, and this is about how do you get the information out to our constituents. Who are the people that we are here to serve these people, and we're missing, everybody misses a lot. And she talked about being very strategic, about really, instead of just, putting ads out there and, sending flyers and so on and so forth, to really develop a plan and to ask yourselves, how will they know that we're here? All of the breakout sessions and even this keynote, they had a lot of screenshots, okay? But in order to be able to concentrate, they said, don't worry about the screenshots, we'll send them to you later. Well, mine haven't come yet, but from this particular talk, I did go online and remembering all of the different ideas, and I will pass this along to the staff because it's things that really are library functions for the staff, but it's coming up with a strategy, really asking yourself, what is it that we need to say to them, really writing it down. You do that old SMART goal, which we've done forever. They really suggest using starting a blog, using the website, using social media. She indicated that most libraries are not taking full advantage of social media, and she suggested ways. And also, specifically, don't forget the non-digital community. But that was definitely worthwhile. I attended 2 separate sessions on other ways to attract money. The Michigan Humanities Program and Grants, and excuse me, Michigan Arts and Culture Council grants. Excuse me. Both of these organizations have money that is state money. Some of it, I know the Arts and Culture Council has money that they bring in from the state, from the federal government, and from local businesses. I'm not going to go into all of the different kinds of grants because between the 2 of those organizations, there's lots of money to be had, but it's mostly small projects, programs, especially the humanities grants are relatively small, but really kind of easy to acquire. I'll put you in touch with the people who run that. They basically said if you have something that you want to do and you need some funds, whether it's a program or whatever, call them and they'll help you figure out how to ask for the money. So they're very anxious to use, every state gets humanities program grant money, and they just want us to use it. Claire Mendiela, okay. Anyway, she did a presentation on the First Amendment. I can't remember the second part of it. But basically, what she is talking about is she's an attorney for MLA, I think,
For Library of Michigan.
Library of Michigan, okay. And she talks about legal protections, but she was very clear about our responsibility to our patrons, and talked about, what information can we collect, what information should we collect, and how to protect that information. And bottom line, the message was collect as little as you can and still, run the library. That was the primary message, but a lot of details, and again, I expect to get some notes from them, so I will forward that to you. There was an intellectual freedom panel. They mostly answered questions from, and I didn't find anything, earth-shattering in that. But the last keynote speaker was Kent Oliver, and he's with the Nashville Public Library, and they have done some really spectacular things in the last 10 years. They run I Read Banned Books program this year. People could come in and actually trade their regular library card in for a library card that says I Read Banned Books, and they sold out of them, or they ran out of them pretty quickly. One last thing. One thing I missed on that Claire's discussion of First Amendment rights is the material selection policy, and she said that overall, that's our biggest protection, is to make sure we have the most robust material selection policy possible. So when that comes around again, we want to make sure that we, hit not just the highlights, but really make sure that our policy is robust. That's it. And the food wasn't bad either. Yes, go ahead.
You said there were two organizations that potentially could provide some funding.
Right.
The Michigan Arts and Culture Association. What was the second one?
The Michigan Humanities.
Michigan Humanities.
Yeah. I can give you the Michigan Humanities Programs and Grants, basically. Any questions?
Awesome. Thanks for
Appreciate the report back. The feedback's very helpful.
Okay, we have a new library calendar. What page is that?
32.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the calendar?
I'm wondering if we can move the November to the week before, because we always go to Pennsylvania from Wednesday to Wednesday, so on the 28th.
It's my birthday after all.
I'm just wondering if we can move that to the 21st instead of the 28th.
Do we have discussion?
Objection?
Okay.
You're talking for the 23rd, 2023?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we
okay.
always go, because my husband hunts.
Is this, you're okay?
And yeah, this year's
Oh,
fine.
okay.
Laura, any objections from the library?
No.
Okay, can I have a motion to change the,
I move
No.
that we change the November date from the 28th to the 21st for 2023.
I'll second.
Question, are you guys approving the calendar as revised or just the specific?
after we make this revision, we will then approve the calendar as revised? Is that acceptable? Is that a problem?
I feel we just make our two motions on one thing and we've never done that before, so we have to off guard.
Good catch.
Okay, Heather made the motion to,
No, I second.
oh, that's right. We should make the change and then approve. Any comments, any further adjustments? Okay, then I guess we need to make a motion to approve the calendar as revised.
So moved?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. There is a request to have early closure on November the 23rd. That is already a part of this calendar.
That's for this year.
Pardon?
That's for 2022. The request is for 2022. In years past,
Oh.
we close at 5 the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And
So
it got
that's,
missed on this calendar for this
Okay.
year. So I'm just requesting that we can reinstate that.
So moved.
Second.
comments? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, unanimously. Okay, and 12.4, 12.4.1 is tabled until next month. Staff reports. I know usually I go through these and say lots of wonderful things. Tonight we have other things going on, so tell the staff thank you, as always. Anyone else have any?
Could I ask a question of Alyssa?
Sure.
Could you share with us what loot boxes are?
Yes, so the loot boxes, we do teen loot boxes, and the first pickup date for them is next Monday. And it was part of the NEH grant that Shauna and I applied for, that big $10,000 humanities grant that we got last spring. That is what is funding the program. And essentially, we will do loot boxes this fall, winter, and spring of 2023. That's as far as the program is funded. And what it is 10 teens register each quarter, and they get a bunch of like seasonal goodies, snacks, little trinkets that teens seem to love, things like that. And then they also answer a few questions about what authors they like or dislike, what genres they like or dislike. They can include specific titles that they have read and liked. And then I am going through and curating 2 library books that will be checked out in their box to them. And then they return the books when they're done and keep everything else. So it's kind of a reader's advisory.
And you're going to start this with adults too, then, I understand.
We're looking for funding for adult boxes. Shauna and I are looking for grants for it, because it's a pretty expensive project to.
Now we've got two new sources here.
Well, the one was
Well,
humanities one, that we got that huge $10,000 grant
Yeah.
from them, so that is one that we are always zeroed in on.
Right.
But yes, and we have had interest in youth loot boxes as well.
Oh.
So we will see. But for now, it's teens, so.
So any estimate on when your presentation on the wine and food pairing will be? sounds
No,
really
she has gone on a bourbon trip right now, so I
Oh.
still have not gotten to meet with her. But we are hoping for spring 2023.
Sounds fun.
Madam Chair, can you comment? Just, I was pleased to see that the homebound patron program is now up and live with some 3 active homebound patrons. As someone that cares for a relative that's homebound, I wish she lived in Brandon Township and could take advantage of this program. I think it's terrific.
We do the delivery of those, right?
Email them.
By mail.
By mail, okay. Yeah. I found out, I was with my mother-in-law for a quick period of time, and she had library books delivered by the mailman. So I thought, do we deliver them or do we mail them? They were like packets, pre.
Yeah.
Nice. She was very excited.
Yeah, I'm happy about that too.
Why don't you have them delivered to you?
I have a couple things I want to point out. I wanted to point out and Alyssa, she's a certified mental health first aider. That's for the community mental health, and that is available to anyone. It's a really great program if you're ever working with or have family members with any kind of mental health issues. It's a pretty rigorous program.
Yeah.
It
It was
some
8,
time.
yeah, it was 8 full hours of, had to have your camera on, had to be a lot of breakout rooms. It was done by Zoom, but it was great, yeah. It was a really helpful, some difficult material, to discuss, but definitely worthwhile for anybody who works with the public, really.
Or is in the public. And
Yeah.
You never know.
How about trustees? We would help us too.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I wanted to point out one other thing. Shauna mentioned that we have the strategic plan objectives, and I just wanted to let you know what those were. The 3.8 is the Brandon Reads, so that's been completed. Well, they have one more meeting. 4.4 was the online patron survey for materials, so that's been completed. 6.6 was engaged non-users, and that's been completed. And 7.3, recognize staff strengths and utilize skills. So we did that with our strengths
I
staff.
really, really enjoyed the strengths finding stuff. I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, she was very good.
She was very good.
I have one more question, if anybody can answer. What is TAB, T-A-B?
Teen Advisory Board.
Okay,
Used to be
great.
the other. Renamed.
They've been trying for a long time to get people to sign up, so we're very excited. It's 2, but we're very excited about this too.
If I could mention one more thing. I know we're trying to save
Oh, no,
time.
that's-
Under Danielle's report on page 68, mentions the Andrew Kesher talking about the history of Mackinac Island. I just want to say, as a person who loves history, it's incredible the amount of history we have in our own state, and I'm glad to see that being leveraged in the library here, and I hope we have more programs like that about things that are right here in Michigan. It's amazing.
And we don't always get a really large number of people in here, but we have a lot of people who come to almost all of these, and they're so interesting. I try to come all of them.
I think we have 60 signed up for tonight.
We have 63 who
Great.
signed up for the History of Witches spooky program tonight.
Wow.
That's been very popular, yeah.
I think I'm signed up for it, actually.
There's your reminder.
Thank you. Okay, comments? I'm sorry, didn't mean to rush anybody. Library statistics, questions, comments?
Yes. Anybody think why the meeting rooms, use of meeting room has doubled Is that the teens or what would it be?
We've had people studying for nursing exams.
Oh.
They've been using the room 2 or 3 times a week. So I think it's,
Yeah, and we have a pretty regular group of gamers that come and plays like a,
Dungeons and Dragons.
thank you, I lost that word. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, they come pretty regularly too, but I have noticed a lot of studying in the meeting room too.
Great. Thank you.
I noticed, just on a side note, my son used to come here for, he put out the boards, and it was Flames of War, I think, with the tanks and things like that. Now my friends have their sons, which is quite a bit younger, all into that. So that might be another opportunity for an event.
Yeah, we actually just tried doing it again last spring and we got nobody
No.
to sign up. Well, we
And at least
asked,
3 boys right
yeah,
now.
the
local.
teams that come regularly to the meeting room, we asked if they would be interested in us like promoting it for them. But once you have like your core group, they don't like to add new players. So I think that's some of the battle that we have when we try to run those types of programs
Sure.
is people already have who they play with. Yeah, because we did just try that again in the last year. We had no luck, so.
He's 19, he still has the tanks sitting all around his room.
Yeah.
He came when he was 10.
Okay. Next month. After the call to audience, early in the meeting, we will elect our new officers for this board. And the process is that we go through each position and select our candidate. Once we have all 4 candidates, or 1 candidate for each one, then we approve the selection of the 4 new officers, and at that point, the new officers will take that position. So if you're interested in the president/chairman position, you need to come prepared to report. Let's see. Also, next month, we will return to our 15 minutes meeting before the meeting to go through some items.
Bylaws?
No, not the bylaws,
Oh.
the trustee manual.
Oh, trustee.
And I didn't bring my copy, so I can't remember who signed up for this.
It's me.
Jan will be handling the discussion next month.
Okay.
Okay.
So that would be at 4:45, right?
Right. Okay. Anything else I've missed?
Are we putting the job descriptions back on?
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
We'll chat tomorrow and see what we come up with.
Okay.
Let's see.
So those are just on hold.
Pardon?
So those are just on hold, right?
Okay. Anything else on hold? Additional items for next agenda?
Public comments.
Oh, no, I don't have any comments. Other than thank you for moving your meeting this month for me. That was totally my scheduling problem, so I really appreciate it.
Okay, listen, anything you need.
Just make sure there's room for us when we come for the witches.
Okay.
One question. The next steps with respect to our board evaluation. Are we going to be scheduling sessions to address those issues, or how are we going to, is that an issue maybe for next month? certainly now that we have the feedback from each of us, what's working well, what's not working, what next steps shall we take to address those issues. One being the Robert's Rules of Order, which kind of came up tonight on what's a motion versus something else.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, one of the things that, one of the sessions from the MLA is that there is yet a newer version that is going to be out in the next month or two, but we will make sure that we get copies for everybody.
I bought the 12th edition 2 months ago.
And it's absolutely.
The new one needs to include the changes in red, so we can just go right to the changes and not have to read the thing again.
Okay.
Well, Cheryl, you sent us for small boards, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And that was
Yeah.
helpful, thank you.
Very much.
Anything else? It's 5 o'clock and 24 seconds. Adjourn?
No objection.
Oh,